Well, hello there and welcome back to the channel. Today may be D-Day. We'll have to see how we go. I'm hoping that the Lansing tug is going to be rolling on its wheels and driving up and down the least muddiest part of my drive, if I'm honest, because I've had a lot of rain recently. We've just experienced another big storm in the UK. And yeah, it's very, very wet. I have a drainage problem where I am, where my barns and sheds are. And in the winter time, in normal winters, when it's not hugely wet, necessarily wet, just normal wet, it gets soggy and a bit muddy. But last winter, and it looks like so far this winter, it's going to be horribly wet and basically boggy and muddy and everything else. So yeah, I'm going to find, hopefully, if I can get this thing going today, I'm going to find some dry areas where I can, and harder areas as well, where I can drive this thing up and down just to prove that it works. And then hopefully put it away in a different shed. That's the plan. Let's see how we get on. So what we have to do today is we've got to finish off the clutch cable and the accelerator cable so that they can go back on the machine and see if they work. And also we've got to reinstate the top hose to this radiator from the water pump and see if the thing will hold some water. Get it started, try the clutch, drive it. Yeah, let's see how we go. Come on. Right, this is the end of the clutch cable. We've got the cable here, which is obviously broken out of the clevis end here. This clevis end, you can probably see it's had a part welded to it at some point in the past. Not very well, not very great welding. And I've got to try and reattach that to that. Now that's in a pretty manky state. I've had a go already and I've sort of managed to muller it. So what I'm going to do, and I don't like that bit of welding anyway, I'm going to cut that end off. So I'm going to cut that off so that's flush with the end of the clevis. And I've got a bolt which I'm going to drill down the middle. I'm going to drill the clevis and thread it so that this bolt threads into the clevis, and this is going to be the tube into which that goes down the inside, and then I'm going to spot weld it on the end and hold it in the end of the clevis. That's the plan. That's what I'm hoping I'm going to do. Whether it works or not, I don't know. We're going to give it a go and see what happens. Hopefully it will. The other end for now, I'm going to leave as a loop. If you remember the video, a couple of videos back, that was looped around the end of the clutch cable, the clutch lever, and it was looped back on itself and secured with a cable clamp. I'm going to leave that like that. Clearly it used to work like that because that's how I found it, and that's what I'm going to do. Probably when I do it properly and restore it, I'm probably going to make a clevis or find a clevis that I can put on the other end, so that it is properly done. I've been having to think about the lever for the clutch. The clutch shaft is free to turn. It's not seized up, which is good. And the lever itself is not very long. It's quite a stubby little lever. So clearly the clutch can't be that hard to actually work or operate, because otherwise it would need a great long lever to overcome the springs inside the clutch. So I'm quietly confident that this is going to do the job. If the clutch should come on and off. It's whether the flywheel and the plate are sort of like become one with rust, so that the clutch doesn't actually disengage even though it's released. But we won't know that until we actually get this back on. So what we've got to do is get that fixed and get it back on the machine and see if the clutch pedal works. So let's have a go. So what I'm doing is I've got the bolt placed into the chuck of my lathe. I'm going to put a centre punch in there, or a centre drill, just to start the hole in the bolt, and then I'm going to drill down the middle of the bolt, so that gives me a tube with a thread on the outside. Simple as that, basically. very satisfying when it cuts nice. It's always important when you're tapping a thread is to go slowly first of all, because these are very hard, taps are very, very hard, and if you break one off in the hole, you are in a world of pain getting it out, if at all. You need a very, very, very hard drill, in fact obviously something harder than this, to drill it out, and those drills are expensive, so you don't want to be breaking taps in holes. You need to make sure it's upright in this plane and upright in this plane, so it is square in the hole. And there's a lot of calibrated eye goes on when you're tapping holes by hand like this, because you have to be able to see straight lines and 90-degree angles, otherwise it will never be straight and it will never be right. And you basically I do sort of quarter turn and then just back it up half a turn just to break the chip. Otherwise what will happen is the tap will just jam up and then it will break off, and you do not want that. And eventually what will happen is we will have a threaded hole, and it is really softly steady as we go. Eventually you will just get through. Take your time, don't overdo it, don't over stress the tools, and you'll be fine. This is 5/16 UNF, so I'm sticking with the Imperial theme because it's an old machine. If this lasts, I shall keep it there. If it doesn't, I'll have a rethink. Now we're pretty much through. It stopped cutting. It's just the final part of the thread, just to clean it up as we go. And that's it done. Spin it out and we'll try our bolt. And there we go. Simple as that. I put a die nut on before I welded the end of the cable, so that because I've welded the end, it's going to obviously have no thread on it and melt away what was there. So the die nut basically cuts me a bit of thread at the end of the bolt there, so that I can now, hopefully, when this comes off, that now screws on there, and now I've got a perfectly good cable pull. And that should do the job. I've got a lock nut which I can put on, so I'll stick that on there. Like so. That can sit in there like that. Spot the deliberate mistake. Now I can't get my ring spanner off. Let's take that off of there. That was a bit silly, wasn't it? Right, try again. There we go. And that screws down. And now we've got a cable pull. Now I'm going to leave the nut on the end there for now, because that now can be adjustment for the cable, so that's quite useful from that point of view. I'm sort of toying with the idea of putting a blobber weld at this end as well, on this head, just to give that cable a little bit more strength. I'm hoping that that's enough that I've done at that end, but I may look at that again and perhaps put a bit of blobber weld on there, and that gives it a bit more strength there. I'll have a think about that. But yeah, that's the clutch cable pretty much fixed for now. And now we've got the throttle cable to do. So here's the old cable. There's a little broken off nipple end that came off because it was so thin and corroded through, just basically broke. The little steel wire cable inside is 1mm thick, so it's pretty small, so it's no wonder it sort of broke through really. I'm going to make a temporary one. Again, when I come to restore this, I'll probably get some new cables made. I believe that there are people that still make these kind of things to order. Clearly, you know, it's a case of getting it right for the application and all of that. But for now, as always, get it going, get it running so that I can use it, or move it at least. And to that end, I've bought some 1mm cable, and I've got some crimp ends to put on each end to act as the little ferrule or the little nipple on the end to actually go inside the clevis clip that is on each end of the cable, one on the butterfly and one on the accelerator pedal. So without further ado, we're going to get that put together. Now we've got to remember not to put it together without these, because if we do that, we're a bit stuffed. First of all, we need a length. Okay, so I've made it slightly longer, just in case I get it wrong. I can always adjust it as necessary. And I've got a bit of an unorthodox way of crimping these, because I don't have a proper crimping tool for this. In other words, a cylindrical one. But I've got something that will do the job. I've had a bit of an experiment already on the other end, and I've managed to crimp them together. They don't look very neat, but I've figured out a neat way of doing it, so or a neater way of doing it. So those are the little aluminium ferrules that go on the end of the cable and crimp onto the cable and grip it, and should give us enough grip to be able to not slip off the end, hopefully. So I've actually got my battery crimping tool to do this for now, and I've put the little ferrule in the V, and I'm just going to squash it down at one end so that it crimps on the end. I don't want to break it. If I go too far, it will break. And hopefully you can see there that I've managed to crimp that on there relatively neatly. Just do one on the other side so that it's equal. That still gives me, or leaves me, a flat at this end to butt up against the clevis, and that's what I'm looking for. That should hopefully do it. Good enough for what we need. Right then, let's get it fitted, see if it works. Well, that took way longer than it should have done. I think 4 attempts at trying to get this clutch cable to connect to the clevis without it basically breaking and pulling out of the clevis screw.
This was the first attempt. This was the original piece of material that was where the clutch cable originally went into and was broken off because it corroded. I tried crimping it. I drilled through it and tried crimping it down, but it didn't work. It just broke the wires inside. So then, as you saw, the next thing I did was to drill down the middle of a bolt, down which I put the cable. That's this one here, and I welded it at one end. But then I also welded it at the top end as well, and it just broke at this point. So I did another one of those and only welded it at one end. That's this one. But again, it just broke on the ends of the wires. It just was not strong enough to do it, and I think when I welded it, I probably didn't catch all the wires or something. I'm not entirely sure. And my last attempt was to basically do exactly the same thing, but then crimp the tube of the stud, and also where I made the hole for the crimp, also weld in there so that the whole thing was welded in. But no matter what I did, I just could not get the strength enough to be able to pull the cable without it breaking. The force required for the springs on the clutches was way too much. And I've got to admit defeat. Didn't have the right tooling. I mean, you need the right material, the right tooling to crimp the whole thing all the way around the cable, fully, so that it's basically 100% totally clamped solid inside, rather than just on one side. The crimper that I was using was a battery crimper, and that only just one side with a small surface area. So it just wasn't working. So I had to find a better solution. Now, the cable itself, the actual cable inside, the wire cable itself, the little wire hawser, that actually is not that thick. The outside of it has got like a coil sheathing around it, and that is just short of 5mm diameter. This is Imperial. So I had a look in my cupboard, and I had some 5mm wire cable. So, and it fitted the sheathing, the outer sheathing that goes around the outside of the cable. So I basically copied what the other guy did all those years ago. Let me show you what I did. So as you can see there, what I've done is I've basically put the wire cable into the sheath, and I've looped it through the clutch pedal back on itself, and then secured it with a little wire clamp, 5mm wire clamp. And the downside of this is it's not adjustable, but it does work. And I've done the same on the other end, similar to how it was before. If you remember on the previous video when I took it apart, the other end was looped through the clutch lever and back on itself and held with a clip like this one, and I've basically copied it at the top here. And I've got it so that the whole thing has got a clutch pedal, and it's quite tight, so I'm quite happy with it. And if I do that, I have actually got clutch movement on the lever at the bottom. So as you can see, we have clutch lever travel. Whether we've got enough, we'll find out shortly. Throttle cable, on the other hand, wasn't quite as bad. I did have to do that a couple of times because I didn't crimp tight enough on the end of the cable with the little ferrules that I had, but that's gone in quite nicely. So it comes out the bulkhead just there, just curls around and then straight up. It's quite an angle there. It's only a very short distance from the bulkhead where the pedal is up to the butterfly, so it's quite a tight angle. The cable is stainless steel cable, so it's not going to rust, and it will also be quite strong as well. And it's quite a strong spring, as we've said a few times before, to overcome, but it needs to be strong to keep the butterfly snap shut, otherwise the butterfly will just not be properly seated. So I'm going to leave it like that. It is working. It's making the butterfly work as it should, and it's going to do the job that I need it to for now. She wants to go. She wants to go. Well, slight altercation. When the clutch pedal stops working, in other words, the clutch cable gives way, there's such high torque through this thing, you can't get it out of gear. In other words, you can't knock it out of gear. So driving into a fence is the only way to stop it. Yeah, that was a bit scary because there was a Land Rover in front of me, and I didn't really want to take the door out of the Land Rover, so the fence it was. Anyway, we've got the clutch cable back up and running, and I'll just take you around the engine quickly. We've got a misfire, I know that much. You can hear it when I rev it up. I don't know which one it is, presumably it's an injector. It might be compression, given the fact that we had valve issues when we were putting the cylinder head, or looking at the cylinder head. But it's enough for what we need it to run, and hey, it's actually running. It drives on its own. Absolutely fantastic. I am over the moon that it's actually driving itself. It's not the best. It's a ropey old dog right now, but we're there. We've got what we wanted to do before Christmas. Almost 2 years to the day when I bought this thing. It smokes like a pig. It misses. It looks as rough as anything. But it's a rough diamond under there, I'm absolutely certain of it. And now I've got it running and I can move it around when I want to, I can start it up. I've got water in it, and I'm pretty sure, if I take the top off, yeah, we've got water and it's going round. It's not leaking anywhere. In other words, it's not leaking into the engine, it's not leaking out of any hoses, it's not leaking out the water pump. Absolutely phenomenal. This is a peak of a restoration, this is going to be. I have to spend some money on it, I expect, but apart from the mechanicals, I would imagine that all of the drive gear and everything, I mean, I've got the front wheels with kingpins and pushes and that to do, but I just think that this is going to be fairly simple restoration. It's not going to be 2025, I don't think. I've got plenty of other things happening 2025, but now I've got it running and I can move it around, and it's on 4 wheels, it starts up and it drives, so I can get it shifted as I need to. So I'm absolutely well chuffed. Just before Christmas, I did it. Yes, I did it. Fantastic. Well, there you have it. My Lansing tug works. It smokes, it misses, it looks an old ropey old dog. My God, is it a ropey old dog. But underneath I think it's a rough diamond, and I think that
yeah, as I say, there's some money to be spent. I'm going to rebuild the engine. Clearly that needs doing. I cracked off the injectors, but I couldn't get a discernible difference in the missing. So I suspect it's not an injector. I think it's compression in possibly cylinder 1 or cylinder 2, where all the rust was in the valves. I don't know if you remember back at the cylinder head video, I put some air through the inlet ports and the exhaust ports, and I got air bubbles coming out beneath the valves. So I suspect that's what it is. That's why it's missing. But that's okay. It's got enough grunt to be able to move itself around. So that's important, because it's another thing that's on wheels that is working. And I think, looking around me, because everything I've got pretty much is around me right now in this shed, I'm pretty certain everything that can run does run. 90% of it runs perfectly fine. The other 10% runs well enough for what I need for now. And yeah, so I'm absolutely well chuffed. So, and it's now Christmas, so that's even better. I'm going to drain the water out of it. It will get moved to a different shed at some point. It's in the same shed as it started in for tonight, because it's starting to get dark now, so I'm not going to faff around with sheds and tractors and other things at this time of night. Plus it's very, very wet, and the ground is very wet. That's not going to get any better anytime soon. That won't be any better till probably May next year, and it's only December now. So yeah, if you like what you see, please subscribe to our channel. We would great to have you along. We would love to see you there, so that you can keep up with what we do and all the mechanical adventures that we have. The Lansing Bagnall tug being one of those things. It's not due for a restoration anytime soon, but I've got where I needed to be with it, which I'm happy about, and I've got my target as well for Christmas, so that's good. If you like it, please hit the like button. Every little helps, gets our profile up and out there, and helps us to be seen by other people. And if you have got people that you like to share this with, then please do. If you've got people that like this sort of thing that you know, send it to them, and hopefully they will enjoy the channel just as much as you guys are doing as well. It's Christmas, so yeah, let's put it away now and we'll move on to the next thing. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.